Hello everyone, back tuning in today's second video. So we're already on the 5-day forecast, which you can find the video to on the homepage. Just scroll down a little bit and it's there further down on the homepage. There's also the written version to the 5-day forecast that you can find via the buttons at the top of the page. This is BCC Wednesday, so we're going to have a look at the next 40 days from the Beijing Climate Centre. We'll have a look at the 500 millibar height anomalies first, which extrapolate to pressure, and then we'll have a look at temperature and precipitation anomalies as well. It's going to take us more or less to the end of July. So going a long way ahead with this update. Remember, these long-range models are very experimental, and it's really just for fun to show what the model is showing this morning when we're doing the update, but of course it isn't to be relied upon. So for getting on with that, just very quick to say about the ads. Just each article's little page, you have browsers widgets to click through the links, you'll be able to pay for the website. Thanks very much for doing that. There's also video ads, both pages. They own content when you watch, they close back up again. It does help to pay for gasworthvids.com. This evening we'll do Storm Watch. There's going to be some thunderstorms in the southeast overnight tonight, again through tomorrow and into Friday morning. So we'll look at the risk of storms on Storm Watch this evening. Right, let's get on with the Beijing Climate Centre 40-day update. We're going to start off with the 500 millibar heights, broken down into 10-day periods. Remember, these are always broken down into 10-day periods for the coming 10 days. First of all, so this takes us from the 21st of June, yesterday, through to the 30th of the month. Remember, orange, red, the brighter colours will always extrapolate to high pressure, and blue always extrapolates to low pressure. So what we have is a ridge in the Atlantic and also some ridging to the east of us, but then we've got this trough up to the north and the northwest, which means the jet stream is something a little bit like that. It looks like it should be a fairly settled anticyclonic period, but actually it's a little bit more unsettled than you'll probably think just by looking at the height anomaly chart. So whilst pressure is relatively high to the southwest and also to the southeast, we are still bringing Atlantic systems through at times. So it certainly isn't a completely dry period by any means. The next 10-day period, the first 10 days of July, this is from the 1st through to the 10th of July. This does look a bit better actually for pressure. It's rising in the Atlantic and ridging through the UK, which is sending the jet stream to the north of the country into that sort of position. So it does look fairly decent. That would have a fair amount of dry. I'm not sure it'd be particularly hot because of the position of the ridge generally centred in the Atlantic, but I think there will be a lot of settled and pleasant weather with that one through the first 10 days of July. The next 10 days, this looks quite good as well. This takes us from the 11th through to the 20th of July, when we see a ridge centred over the UK. So again, I think got a lot of dry weather coming up here if this is right. Jet stream again is going to the north of the country into that sort of position. So I would have thought that's going to be pretty settled, fairly warm, and mostly dry as well. That looks pretty good through the middle part of the month. And then we go through to the final 10-day period, which is days 31 to 40. Very long way out, of course. This takes us from the 21st of July through to the 30th, so more or less to the end of July. And then we see a bit of a change. Heights are lowering. We've got low pressure coming back to the north and the west, but ridge seems to be going down towards the Azores. We're probably sending the jet stream through the country like that, albeit rather sluggishly. So I would think clearly that is turning more unsettled. Jet stream is coming southwards, particularly from the north and west. There will be bands of rain moving in. So for the latter stages of July, looks like we get some sort of deterioration to a more unsettled and obviously wetter and cooler pattern. Let's have a look at the temperature anomalies then. The first 10 days, which is the 21st through to the 30th of June, coming out significantly warmer than average. It has been a pretty warm month so far, albeit quite dull. And fairly unsettled as well. It looks like this continues into the final 10 days of the month with pretty warm but unsettled weather being predicted. The next 10 days, going into the first 10 days of July, the 1st through to the 10th, generally coming out a little bit above average again there, so fairly warm temperatures expected. And that continues into the 10 days from the 11th through to the 20th. Again, temperature anomalies generally coming out above average. And we round it off from the 21st through to the 30th of July. Again, temperature anomalies above average, although only ever so slightly. That is much closer to average, actually. Remember, this is when it looks like it's turning more unsettled at the end of July. Temperature is still just about above average, but certainly looks a bit cooler there for that 10 days. But generally a pretty warm period coming up, you have to say, with temperatures throughout really above average. Precipitation for the coming 10 days, despite being above average with the temperatures, it's generally coming out wetter than average from the 21st through to the 30th of June. So it's a continuation of what we've had through June, really, which is unsettled, pretty warm temperatures, but also with a fair amount of rain coming through. We go through to the next 10 days, the first 10 days of July, and then the precipitation anomaly is going much closer to average. Actually, it's going a little bit drier than average there from the 1st through to the 10th, which is days 11 to 20. Days 21 through to 30, again, drier than average. So it does look like the first half of July could be really quite warm and dry, to be honest. And then we go through to that final 10 days, which is days 31 to 40. The temperature's lower, turns more unsettled, and also the rainfall starts to come back with wetter than average precipitation being forecast. That's right at the very end of all of this, and I think what we can basically say is that June looks like it's going to carry on as it has been through the final stages of the month, which is pretty warm but quite wet. We go through to July. It looks like it stays generally quite warm, but the difference is that we probably get some ridging and it should turn a bit drier through the first half of July in particular. The second half of July looks like we've got an idea of a deteriorating pattern, which probably takes us to something cooler and more unsettled. But that's days 31 to 40, right at the very extended range of the model. And not really worth worrying about, but that's what it's showing today. So all in all, I don't think it's looking too bad, particularly for the first part of July. Maybe that's going to be the best part of summer. Very difficult to say that, of course, but certainly the first half of July looking quite decent with the Beijing Climate Centre. Remember, all of these models are highly experimental, so it's not to be relied upon. We'll have another extended look ahead on Friday when we look at the JMA and the CFS V2 models on JMA Friday, see what they're showing for the coming month. That's all for now. Come back later on for Stormwatch. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.